What's the biggest mistake you see people make in the years leading up to retirement?
Here's some things that I think are the biggest mistakes is, first of all, underestimating healthcare costs. We see that quite a bit. If you're going to retire prior to reaching Medicare age, and you're going to have to buy health insurance out on the open market prior to bridge that gap between retirement and age 65 when you qualify for Medicare, that gets expensive. And that is a very difficult thing to nail down because everybody's healthcare needs are drastically different during that time frame. So underestimating healthcare costs prior to age 65, not understanding taxes and modeling the taxes and how those are going to impact you in retirement, because tax planning in retirement is very different than tax planning during your working years. So not understanding and really having your arms around what taxes are going to do to you and what that's going to entail. And then I would say not increasing your income every year to keep up with the rising cost of everything around you. And that would be inflation. And we see that quite a bit. We had someone come in recently, and he was an engineer, and he was proud of his spreadsheet that he had put together. And I commend you for doing that. But, in his calculations, he'd done a phenomenal job, except for he hadn't even figured inflation into the picture at all whatsoever. And when I brought that up, it was a light bulb went off, and he had to go back and revamp his spreadsheet. And when he did, he was shocked at what that looked like. Those are a couple of the things that we see. Also, structuring how you go into retirement, how your investments are positioned going into retirement, and not having enough, either being too conservative or being too aggressive, not being allocated correctly, or understanding the impact of taking significant losses in those first couple of years and how that can really, really hurt you in the long run. Those are all mistakes that we see people commonly make, but there's quite a few more.
There is. One thing I'd throw in there is, talking about Social Security and using it. I always like to say Social Security is an asset, right? It's an asset just like anything else that you've built into for the last 30, 40 years. So use it like one. Let's look at it. Let's run different scenarios. Let's say, hey, what if we're retiring in our early 60s, what if we take it right away? How does that impact us 20 years down the road, not just in the first year, right? If we delay it and live off of some pre-tax money, or maybe we've got some after-tax money saved up in CDs or in the bank, let's see how that looks. So using it as an asset and actually modeling through different scenarios with Social Security, a lot of people just hear rule of thumb. They just, again, we hate rules of thumb, but they'll see online that, oh, this guy on YouTube said you need to take it at 68 because that's the perfect number, right? Avoid doing that. Let's actually model through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next question. So what should people be reviewing when they're taking into consideration a real retirement readiness checklist?
Yeah, I can start this one off. I know there's a ton of things we could throw out here, but I'd always say the first thing to start with seriously is getting a real grip on your expenses. This is the thing we'll sit here and talk to people, and almost none of them truly know what they spend. And it's the thing nobody wants to do. Everybody wants to look at their investment accounts, look at stocks. Everyone wants to dump more money into their 401ks, but nobody wants to make a budget, right? Nobody wants to make a budget. It's not fun. It forces you to really sit down and have tough conversations, and it's just not what you want to do. So the first step, again, it doesn't have to be down to the dollar, but within a couple $100, understand what you're spending every month. And people always are kind of hesitant to say, and it's like, look, we don't care, again, if you spend $2,000 or $20,000 a month. It's like, we just need to know. We're trying to build out an income plan, and you need to understand how it compares today to what you're going to want to spend in retirement. A lot of people think it's going to drop a lot. Most people probably doesn't. It actually goes up, right? So understand how much you're spending now, and what does that look like in retirement? Is there going to be more? Is there going to be less? Is it going to be the same? Because a lot of people don't have clarity on that, and that's, I think, the biggest thing that I've noticed.
Yeah, this is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
We don't We're totally non-biased here. We're totally judgment-free. And we are fiduciaries. Everything is held in confidentiality when we discuss these things. And so when we hit people with the real hard questions about the budget, two of the things that I see that get left off the budget constantly because nobody wants to really acknowledge it is the Amazon boxes that are showing up at the front door every other day. That is a big one. That is, listen, it's convenient. I get it. We do it.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
We do a lot. Yeah. To keep our business afloat and running and smoothly. But you got to be real. It's real money, and you're spending it, and we got to be real about those things. And the other thing I see is eating out. I mean, eating out is it's incredibly costly nowadays. And we have this conversation a lot in my household as to whether it's worth it or not. Because, I mean, the service has gotten worse. The food has gotten way more expensive. And the wait times and the frustration and all of those things you got to be real about that stuff too. We've seen instances where people are spending $1,000, $1,200 a month eating out without even really understanding where that money's going. And so be real about these things when you go to do your budget. Be real about what taxes and homeowners insurance and all of these things are costing you. But getting your arms around those expenses, and as you get closer to retirement, being able to start to trim the fat and start to try and whittle those expenses down as much as you possibly can to try. In retirement, it's all about expenses. Yeah. You ask how much money you need to retire. Well, I'll ask you, what are your expenses? That's what you need. But so understanding your expenses, starting to determine and figure out what the optimal time to take Social Security is, because that is a big decision that you can't turn back the clock on and you can't undo once it's done. Understanding, exactly what assets you have, exactly where they're located, how they're invested, how much risk you're taking, starting to really get your arms around those things. And then really starting to model through different scenarios as far as healthcare events that could happen, as far as all of a sudden somebody needs skilled nursing care and it's extremely expensive, or the market makes a major correction and now we've got a lot less money than we thought we had. I mean, all of those things we've got to kind of model through and understand. And that would be the checklist I would start with: is expenses, understanding Social Security timing, understanding your assets and what you have and how much risk you're taking will be a great place to start.